Yeah, nothing I can think of right off.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with picnic?
Oh, like every day? Like,
Yeah, it's like what's your, I'm trying to figure out like what's the next thing to work to teach you. Like I know we're hitting the fall and like the winter time, right? So that's gonna change what we do. But like, you know, let's say it was like springtime or summer, like, do you ever take it with you to like friends' houses and you need her to be more so under control? Or would you like to take her to like a restaurant with you where she'll kind of just sit still and not be all over the place?
I would like to be able to take her like on a long walk to
Okay.
the lake, and she'll be fine and not be kind of looking around or.
Oh, so yeah, that's so
Yeah.
like distracted, okay?
Yeah, and that's really the main thing, and then just eventually us being able to walk past other dogs without any, you know, huffing and puffing, but
Mhm.
that's probably gonna take some time. That's pretty much it, and then of course when people come to visit me, that's the other thing of how to get her to not be as riled up, you know. So those are probably the other things that I can.
Think of?
Yeah.
Okay. When people come over, you know, they knock and all that, I assume, and they come in and was she just very excited and jumpy, or?
She's like, she's more like you're an intruder. That's.
Oh, okay, so barking.
Yeah.
And then once they enter, is she fine and she settled down, or is she still kind of grumbly?
She's still grumbly, yeah.
Okay. Does she warm up to them eventually, or does she stay kind of like indifferent and grumbly with them?
Eventually she can warm up to them. What I have been doing is if I do have someone to come over, I have her like on a leash and meet them outside and then bring them in.
Okay.
And that usually goes way better. But if someone just like knocks at the door, she can kind of continue to bark.
Okay.
And be, you know, what you just described as like grumbly.
Okay, so what we're gonna do then is, that's a two-part kind of exercise. We'll work on the one part here. The other one we have to do over Zoom.
Okay.
And I would send you a video to watch to become familiar with what the exercise is. So going down and meeting the person outside is a workaround, because what's happening is you're avoiding the trigger of the knock, right? Because the knock is what sets everything off, right? But when you meet them outside and you come inside and you come in together, it's just a complete workaround, which isn't necessarily wrong. But if anybody ever just came straight up or whatever, it would always be a problem. Okay. So one, we're going to work on stationary control, and then that's one half of it, and the other half of it is addressing her behavior when she's being territorial in the home. Okay. Now her behavior is completely normal. Okay. Because you know when you're going to have a guest come over like at 2 o'clock, right? Picnic will never know. Okay, so like if you invited someone over and then like at 1:45 you heard a knock or you heard the doorbell or whatever, you would assume it's probably my guest, they're a little bit early. So you're not concerned about it. But for picnic, she never knows who's on the other side of the door. So she just triggers into territorial behavior to alert them that, hey, there's a dog in here. But what happens is she's having a hard time coming back to stability. Okay, so the exercise that I teach helps you shut down the territorial behavior, help bring the dog back to stability, so that when your guest comes in, she's going to be more curious, okay, or more likely to become curious, because she's not sitting there suspicious thinking like, who are you? And as dumb as it sounds, when you open the door to let your guest in, picnic doesn't know or kind of tie together that you're inviting the guest in because you know them. She's just like, who opened the door and why are they coming into the house? And that's why she stays stuck like that. Okay? It's super common. I see it all the time. Again, it's normal for a dog to be territorial. It's technically security. It's just when you don't know how to stop it or get it back under control, the dog will be less likely to come out of their shell because they're so stuck on who are you and what are you doing in my house. Okay? Any questions on that?
No.
All right. So what we're going to teach today is the place command. It's very simple. It's great for stationary work. What this does for picnic here is just give her kind of like a reference point. So if she's not comfortable, you can send, like, does she have a dog bed or like a blanket or a towel or anything?
Mhm.
Yep,
Yeah.
you can use that for the object. Today we're just gonna use one of our placemats here. This is something that's also movable. So like if you ever did take her somewhere else, take her to a friend's place, take her to a restaurant, anything like that, and you want her to see how she's kind of like all over the place here, she's kind of wandering. Is if you're in an unfamiliar environment, it can cause anxiety because she's not sure what to do. So then I just tell her what to do, which is go here and just chill out. Okay? Any questions?
No.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get our remote ready. What's been Picnic's operating number for the most part?
Like about 42.
Okay, we're gonna dip it down. Let's go down to 28 because we're teaching something new. So whenever we teach anything new, we always want to go down on our number. And we're going to teach what we call the send. Okay, the send is getting Picnic familiar with going to the place area. Okay, so we're going to start about at a foot away, like so. You're going to start tapping first. Okay, and you may need to brace the bed with your foot. You're going to start tapping first, and then you're going to use your leash to lure Picnic over to the placemat. Okay, if you might find like she'll kind of, since she's unfamiliar with it, the dogs tend to kind of push back on the bed. Is you'll just use your leash pressure as you're tapping to help kind of pull her onto the area, and then as soon as she's on the area, you would stop tapping and relax your leash. Okay, and you went down already on your remote.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and get in position, and tap, tap, and now start to pull towards your bed. Tap, good. Add a girl, and wait a moment, and we're gonna say break.
Break.
Good, and we're gonna do that 4 more times. So go ahead and move. So on this next one, I'm going to have you prevent her from going on there until you start tapping. Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and move back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move a little bit more forward. About right there. You're going to stand still. Now start tapping. And now as you're tapping, use your leash to pull forward. Stay where you are. Yep, a little bit more of a pull. Add a girl. Wait a moment. Good. And break.
Break.
Good. We're going to do it 3 more times. Break, break. Add a girl. Good.
All right.
Tip. 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 Good girl. Good. Break.
Right.
Good. We're going to do 2 more.
All right.
Yep, tapping and a little bit of a pull. Stay where you are. Tap, tap, tap. A little bit more of a pull. Tap, tap. Pull, pull, pull. Tap. Add a girl. Good.
Break, break, break.
Good. 1 more. Tap, tap. Pull, tap, tap. Girl. Very good. So now, we're going to make this a little bit more difficult, is we're going to start sending from about 2 to 3 feet away, okay? And as best you can, you're going to stay stationary so that Picnic is doing doing a bulk of the work, okay? And break.
Break.
Good.
Go back right here.
That's a little bit closer. There, that's good. Right. Good girl. Good girl.
Good girl. Break.
Good.
Break.
And we're going to do that 4 more times.
Catch on quick.
Tap, 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 tap. A little bit of leash pressure. There she goes. Add a girl. Good.
Good girl.
Break.
Break.
Good. 3 more.
Good girl. Break.
Good. There we go. Very good. She got this really fast. Good girl.
Good girl. Break.
Okay, we're gonna do one more. Yep. Yep, yeah, girl. Good job. Excellent. So, she actually picked up on this really fast, okay? Because what I'm wanting to see is she's responding to the tap itself. Because most trainers or people, when they teach the place command, they'll walk the dog there. So it's place, and then they walk the dog all the way over here, right? And the problem is that becomes a part of the command, and you always have to walk them there. And I want to be able to say place, and the dog just goes on their own, no matter where they're at, depending on how far the distance is, okay? So now what we're going to do is same process, but you're going to start moving around, okay? So you'll come over here, and then wait a moment. Make sure that if she goes by herself, you want to use your leash to stop her. Then when you're ready, start tapping and direct her. She goes, good girl, wait a moment. Break, we're gonna walk around a little bit. Maybe try from over here. Prevent her from going forward, of course. Wait a moment. Start tapping, use your leash pressure to guide her, and we're gonna do that a few times, okay? Because if you always practice from one particular direction, like where you're at there, and then one day you decide, oh, let me send you over here, she's not gonna get it because she's so tuned into going from that specific spot, okay? Break.
Break. Break.
Good girl.
Good girl. Break.
Good. Good girl.
Good girl. Break.
Very good. Good girl.
Sit.
We're gonna do some more break.
Break. Break. Good
Good.
girl. Break.
One more. A little bit of pressure. There you go. Yeah, good girl. Good job. Very good. So now we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to start applying the word. Okay? I use the word place, so you're going to cue the word place first. Then you'll start tapping, and then use the leash pressure if needed to help picnic to the spot. Okay?
Break. Place. Place.
Good girl. Good.
Break. Break.
Yep. Good.
Place.
Good.
Break. Place. Place.
You're at 28 now?
Yes.
Let's go down to 18. Good.
Good girl. Break.
Good. You need two more.
Place.
Good girl. That was a good one.
Break. Break.
Cool. Good girl.
Place.
Good. That was a real good one. Excellent. Go ahead and, when you keep picnic there, go ahead and feel, have a seat here.
Okay. Right here.
Right there, sorry. Yep. There you go. So this way you're nearby in case we need to correct her. So, that was really good. That last one was the best one. You said place and right away she just started going, right? So what we focus on first is, is teaching the send. Go from here to here, okay? Because for the past few weeks, tap is meant walk with me, or, don't be reactive or don't move. And now we're teaching her that it means from going from one spot to another spot, okay? This aspect of place command, I say 2 to 3 minutes a day, 2 times, okay? And then once you feel like picnic is really solid, and you say place, boom, place, boom, place, boom, like she just goes, no problem, then I don't worry about practicing the send anymore, I just use it, okay? So, place is meant for duration use, which means like if I told her to go here and I don't want her to move for 30 minutes, then for 30 minutes her job is to be there, okay? So how this applies to people coming over is if she's being grumpy or whatever, you give her something to do instead, and it kind of just keeps her out of the way. But it's or like let's say there's someone that she really likes and maybe she jumps on or something like that. This is kind of a preventative approach, okay? This is something that you would utilize pre the door knock or doorbell or whatever. I wouldn't, let's say the person already knocked on the door, ideally I wouldn't then try to send her because she's already kind of going to be alert or barking or whatever. It's much easier if at 5:30 I'm expecting my guest, at 5 o'clock picnic is over here. Okay, so it's more so preventative control. And then if she really respects the command, we shouldn't be getting any kind of barking or charging at the door because she's more preoccupied with doing this. Okay. Now let's say she grumbles or something. You can actually use this to correct her for the grumbling, but you'll probably get confusion in the beginning. Where let's say the guest comes in, she starts to grumble, and you correct her. She might think it's the actual place itself that you might see her try to come off. So then I would keep tapping and then lead her back on with the leash, and then just keep repeating, and eventually she'll learn that the tap isn't for being on the place, the tap is because she was grumbling. Okay, but you definitely want to keep that leash on in the beginning. It usually takes about 3, maybe 5 times of correcting the dog for a behavior and them getting confused, like with the growling on the place, for them to realize, oh, the tap wasn't because I'm not supposed to be here. The tap is because mom wants me to stop growling. Okay? And then what you'll see is she'll like grumble on the bed, you'll tap, and then she'll just calm down and relax and stop. Okay? But it's going to take a few mistakes of her jumping off and trying to figure out what to do instead. Okay? So in the beginning, we always keep that leash on. The place command is a client favorite just because it's so simple to teach, but also very simple to reinforce. Because so when we say place, we don't say sit or down, because it would no longer be a place command, it would be a sit or down command. Okay? Because the last thing you tell picnic is technically the command that she's going to be in. So if you send picnic to place and then say sit, right? Technically she's in a sit. She's not allowed to move, should be from that sit position. So if she tried to lay down or stand up, that would be incorrect. You would have to correct her for that. Whereas if I just send picnic to place, I don't care what she does. She can sit, stand, or lay down. She just needs to stay within the perimeter of the bed itself, or whatever the object is that you're using. Okay? So it's very simple. So if you have a guest come over, if you told picnic to down, and then 30 minutes in she's standing up, you have to correct that to where she goes back to a down position. Okay? So it's much easier if I just send the dog to place and go, I don't care what you do, just don't jump off of there. Okay? Questions so far?
No, it's pretty straightforward. It makes sense.
Makes sense.
And where do you all get these? Do you get this from like PetSmart?
These are I order from a company named Coranda. These are really expensive, but they last forever. You don't have to use something like this. You can use your dog bed. You can use a towel. You can use a blanket. You can use a kitchen mat. I've had people use like area rugs, an ottoman, a couch. You know, you can technically even use a chair. It just has to be something with the perimeter.
Right.
Okay. So when you go home, you said she has a dog bed?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you try to apply this to your dog bed, it's not going to be as simple as place and she goes there. you have to teach her that this is now also a place.
Mhm.
Okay, because right now she's learned it with this particular object. So whenever you're going to teach a new object this place, you have to do an introductory send session. Okay, so like, let's say you pull out her dog bed, and then you say place, you would start tapping and use your leash just like you did here.
Mhm.
You do that a few times, 2 to 3 minutes. Then that becomes the place. Okay, then she recognizes it as, oh, this is just like a Jesse's place or Jesse's facility, but it's just a different object now.
Mhm.
Okay. Once you feel like she's very comfortable with the object, then you just can go to application. I don't really worry about practicing sending her there anymore. Okay, because you have picnic, go from here to here, and then you have picnic, don't move from there.
Mhm.
So this command has 2 fronts. Right now we were just working on the go from here to here, and then we had a seat. Now we're talking. Now we're working on the don't you move from this area until I give you permission.
Mhm.
Okay, and you can use this command for as long as you want. There's no limitations because it's not redundant and it's not like the dog is actively doing something
Mhm.
physically. This is more so of a mental exercise. So dogs have a learning capacity like a 3 to 4-year-old child, and 3 to 4-year-old children tend to want to move, right? They tend to want to, they're loud and they move around a lot. So for dogs, doing this exercise of being still for a period of time is mental.
Mhm.
So like for me growing up, when we go to church, my mom would be like, you have to be quiet, and you can't talk or you can't yell or you can't move around a lot in church. You have to be still as best as you can. But that was very exhausting for me because as a kid you want to do stuff, and then afterwards my mom would say, okay, we can go to the park, you can run around, whatever, as a reward. So here it's the same thing for dogs. Having her be still for a period of time is a lot of mental exercise. Also for dogs that struggle with anxiety or nervousness, anxiety tends to want to move and stuff. So having a dog sit still really challenges that anxiety because anxiety really wants them to move around to try to alleviate that stress.
Mhm.
Okay, so I always go opposite to the brain. If the brain wants to move, I make the brain sit still. If the brain wants to sit still, then I make the brain move. Okay, other questions?
Mm-mm. So in the beginning, when of course I don't have a lot of people come over because it's COVID.
Quarantine, yeah.
But when I do have people over, keeping her on the leash, making her sit in place, and then keeping the collar on just in case.
To correct it and dial her down, correct it.
Okay.
And if you'd like, so here at my facility, we have columns.
Mhm.
And next to each column, we have a placemat. And we use the column as a tether. So we'll take a leash, we'll wrap it around the column, clip it to the dog's collar. Dog's being correct, so we have a dog on a leash with the tether. Oh, is it her? Not here, try this cat. Let's see, wait a moment. All right, step again. Tap. Tap. Go to bump, let's go to 26. Uh, 30. And bump again. Okay. Okay. And bump again. Go and bump again. Okay. Which number now?
41.
Okay, perfect. Now there's no connection here because I'm not seeing her neck twitch here. Yep. And bump it. Because you see how she's still looking that way?
Mhm.
We want to get it so that she focuses her attention like she was earlier. Go ahead and tap, bump. There we go. Tap, tap. Bump it. There it is. Like that. What's your number now?
45.
45. So there was no connection. So that's why you're that high.
Mhm.
Okay, because there was no twitch. So I did that to help you learn how to troubleshoot. Okay, because you're not always going to be able to adjust your collar to get good contact. So then you have to learn how to make contact just simply by playing with that number and raising it. Okay, so we went from 22 to 45, and then right when you hit that 45, I said it right before. I said I want her to shift her attention away from what's going on over there, right? And then she did exactly that once you hit that number. Go ahead and tap again. There we go. So this is good. So I would expect most dogs to actually want to flush off of the placemat, but she's actually taking the correction and redirecting her attention over here. So if you imagine this as a guest coming over and her being grumbly, it's pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a different kind of context. So what were we talking about before?
I was just reviewing that, keeping the leash and the collar on when people come over, and I guess until she gets to a place where she responds.
Right.
She doesn't respond in the same way.
So this is the preventative approach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is you go here, someone comes over, they knock, whatever, and you address her, guest comes in, and then picnic is just there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the second part of this is the person knocks, picnic is not on place, she's actually free. And we use body language and e-collar to calm picnic down. Okay, because she's hearing the sound and she's triggering into territorial mode. So then there has to be a conversation where you're telling her, thanks for letting me know someone's here, but you can chill out and relax because I'm in control of the situation. Okay, so there has to be more of a conversation. So we have prevention, which is this, right? 5 o'clock, picnic, go here, 5:30, the guest comes over, right? So we're preventing or stopping anything from happening before the guest even comes in because she's already under control. Mm-hmm. Then there's intervention. And intervention would be maybe a friend comes to surprise you and they just ring the doorbell or knock, and then it's like, or they call you and they're like, hey, I'm downstairs, and she's like now in alert mode. Now you have a means of getting her to calm back down again. Mm-hmm. The intervention type approach, in my opinion, is the best approach because when you shut down the territorial behavior, it allows curiosity to come out, which will allow her to kind of open up and start to, when she saw me, mm-hmm. right, she was excited, right? Mm-hmm. Is that same kind of response of after you've done that so many times with a friend or a family member, she's gonna, they'll come over and she'll bark and you'll address her and then you open the door and then she'll be there like this. Mm-hmm. But if she triggers and all we do is either separate her or keep her away, a lot of times the brain will not open up to curiosity and they stay stuck in suspicion. Mm-hmm. So if they stay stuck in suspicion, you won't see I've seen you 20 times, like you're a friend and I like when you come over. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's more of the social aspect of it, of helping her to open up to people that you would see on a regular basis. But if you don't stop the territorial behavior and if you only did prevention, since there's never that shutdown of no need to be territorial, the brain can stay stuck, but she just happens to be confined. Mm-hmm. So you don't see her actively acting on it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Questions?
Nope.
Let's go back down. We'll go back down to 26. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to same place from a distance to get picnic to go. Once she arrives, you're going to wait a moment, and then you're going to start to walk around the area. Okay? Now, picnic should stay still. Mm-hmm. If she gets off or tries to get off, you're going to stop moving. You're going to tap and then use the leash to guide her back to the area. Once she's back on, then you'll continue with the movement. Mm-hmm. Okay?
So have her go to place, leave the leash.
Oh, you'll pick it up. You'll still have the leash in your hand.
You still have it. Okay.
Yeah, you'll still have the leash in your hand. So here, tip, because she prematurely broke off. Tip, 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 tip. Go ahead and use a little bit of leash pressure. Tip, tip to guide her onto the placemat. Tip. There we go. Let's want to bump to 30. Good. Good.
Break.
Good. So that was a correction, right? Because she had broken off prematurely. And you.
No, get down. No,
okay.
Get down.
Tip, tip, tip. There we go. There we go. So we correct, yes, we correct when she's jumping, but then I go back to what I was doing, which is the praising. So she's learning if I want to keep tip, 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 tip,
Okay.
tip, There, it's okay. Good. And then, so she's learning if I jump up, I get the tap. If I keep my paws on the ground, nothing happens. Okay? There you go. There you go. Whenever you're ready, up, yep. Good. And let's,
Place,
yep,
place,
yep. There we go. Good girl. Now you'll go ahead and start to walk around. This is okay because she's still in the area. So she can sit, stand, lay down, or move around. That's all fine. Good. You're going to move in closer to the place. And you're going to say the word break.
break,
Good. And then we're going to try that 4 more times.
break, place,
Yep. There we go. That's a good one. Good. Going to try and move around. Good. Go ahead and come to the stop. Break.
break,
Good. 3 more.
place, place,
Right. Yep. Good.
place,
There you go. Good. And you're going to cue it once. Ideally, we don't want to repeat. Instead of repeating, go straight to the tapping.
okay.
Okay? We're going to do 3 more. Good.
Break,
Yep. Good.
place,
Very good. That was a good one. We move around. Good. When it comes to stop. Wait.
break,
Good. We'll do 2 more.
place,
Very good. Good.
break,
1 more. Now you're going to pull her towards you. Yeah, so she's already getting it.
place,
And a girl. Good job. Good job. Good. Great.
break,
Good. Now what we're going to do is same thing, but now when you send her, you're going to walk around, and then come back, you're going to praise her, you're going to walk away again, but she should stay still.
okay.
Okay?
Break, place,
Good. Good. Go ahead and come in and praise her. Add a girl.
good girl.
Good job. Yep. That's good. Now walk around. You'll keep releasing your hands. Yep. Just adding a little distraction to see if she'd be inclined to try to follow you. Very good. Back to her side. Good. Break.
Break,
We're going to do 4 more.
place,
And a girl.
Break.
Good, 3 more.
Play. Good girl. Break.
Good, 2 more.
Place.
Good.
Good girl.
And last one.
Break.
Good.
Place.
All right, good job.
Good girl. Good girl.
You'll do one more walk around. We're gonna keep picnic there, then I'll have you have a seat again. Alright, so she could technically stand up.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, so like if she stood up and then tried to step off, then you would correct her, okay? Because place is go here, don't move. She can sit, stand, lay down. She can even walk around technically. If like, you know, she wanted to get up and like walk around the area itself. Good girl. So very good. She picked up on this really quick. So when you go home, you know, pick whatever object you're going to use. You can have more than one object as well. You can use her dog bed in one room, and it can be like maybe a kitchen mat in the kitchen or whatever. But you just have to teach her each individual object first. Okay. You can do as long as you want right off the bat. You don't have to do 5 minutes to 6 minutes to 7 minutes. When we teach it here, when we apply it, day one, when we teach the send and how to go to place, right off the bat, we're doing 2 to 3 hours. It's very simple to do, and I think it's because it's so simple, people tend to blow this off. But it's a great way to just exercise dogs mentally, challenge them emotionally if they have like anxiety or nervous issues or anything like that. Because just being still for a period of time is difficult for them. So I use this to our advantage. You know, it's nothing mean. Dogs typically sleep 16 to 20 hours a day. You're just kind of picking where she's going to be doing so for whatever period of time. Okay. In the beginning, we start with the dog next to us. So like, if I'm sitting at my desk or something, I could have the bed here, and then picnic's on place right next to me. Okay. So in case she tries to get up to make a mistake, it's very easy to correct her back to the space. During this first phase with picnic here, if you're going to get up to do something, we want to release her first, then get up and do what you need to do, come back and then replace her if needed, okay? So if you stand up and then you break picnic, you're going to create a pattern, and the pattern is when I get up, I'm going to release you, okay? So we don't want her to catch that pattern. We want her to learn that she should stay put until release. So by doing it backwards and releasing her first and then standing up, you're not going to build any kind of bad habits, okay? So I do that for the first week. For the second week, she's still next to you, but now I'm going to get up and walk away to do something and come back, and she should stay put. The third week is picnic's a little bit away from me, and I'm getting up and walking around and stuff, just to make it a bit more difficult. The fourth week is, okay, picnic's now actively across the room from me, and I get up, go to the kitchen, move around, clean, vacuum, all that stuff, and she should stay still within that space, okay? So you're just slowly building up to whatever point that you'd be needing. If whenever you have a guest come over, the guest will be over like for like a couple of hours or so. You want to be practicing with and outside of that context, that length of time, if not a little bit more, because when you're utilizing the place with the guest coming, with the guest over, now you have added distraction. Okay, so to get her comfortable with sitting still for a long period of time, so that she's ready for when a guest comes over, you want to already practice that, even when there's nothing going on, so that she gets familiar with just sitting still for a period of time, so it makes it much easier to be applicable when a guest does come over. Okay, any questions?
So pretty much, if I know someone's coming over, making her be in the place position, and then when that person comes over, just making sure that she stays there. Okay.
Yep, so if she grumbles or growls or whatever, she might even like, if they knock, because that's gonna be the biggest challenge, is to get her over that you have to work through it, is, I personally would avoid the going downstairs and coming up now, and I would challenge her with, there's gonna be people coming over and you need to behave yourself, right? Is at 5 o'clock, if we have a guest at 5:30, at 5 o'clock she's already in place. Once they come, you have them come up and you tell them to knock, but then after they knock or ring the doorbell or whatever, to not keep doing it. Just do it the first time and then to wait for you. Because if they keep knocking, she's gonna just keep re-triggering. Okay? So it's the initial knock, maybe she runs off to bark at the door or something, you start tapping, you use a little bit of leash pressure, you bring her back, she goes and sits down. You go to approach the door, when you go to grab the handle and stuff, expect her to kind of perk up and be kind of interested. You would tap there to calm her down, kind of like what we did earlier. Then you would open your door, she might perk up again, you tap, she gets off the place, close the door, tap her, bring her back, and repeat. So eventually you can open the door and your guest comes in and picnic doesn't move. Okay? Other questions?
Just gotta practice it.
Yep.
I'm gonna have my partner, I'm gonna have him come over more so she can get used to
Him?
Yeah.
Sure.
She remembers him, but she doesn't see him all the time. So
Sure.
I think he would be the best person to practice with. And then maybe eventually, depending on, of course, how things go with COVID, is to have other people come over.
Yeah, and when we do the second approach, it really doesn't matter how much you practice, it's just how consistent you are. Okay, because shutting down the territorial behavior is going to help a lot. So it's really just learning because I've had to cover this with a couple of people and it's the same thing, they're just like, we don't have a lot of people come over. I'm like, yeah. So you do what you can when you can, but definitely what you should start to see is she'll start to open up more as she gets more familiar with them just being in the space and stuff. And then her just getting used to coexisting. Even if she's just here, like just observing, like, okay, like you come over and nothing bad happens. And then you may start to see her open up. Okay? Anything else?
No, and I forgot to bring the long collar.
The long leash?
Excuse me, sorry, the long leash today. So next week, should I bring that?
Yeah, go ahead and bring that with you so you can start the recall stuff, which would be common called. And then I gotta send you that video for the door so you can watch that, and then you can set up that Zoom whenever you're ready. And then with the reactivity stuff, you said there was no full-blown reactivity, like was there?
Right.
Okay, so that's good. So now you're just dealing with residual reactivity. So just keep working on that. And then don't be afraid to bump the number if needed to see if that will help kind of just take care of whatever's left over. Okay? Anything else?
No.
All right. Did you want to